Hello, hello, hello everyone. I hope everything is fine, and today I will have a stream with Georgios, the big Greek as we call him. And yes, please don't forget to follow his channel too. His channel is the Big Greek Shah. We will rank the openings according to making this kind of tier list. This is the special list because we didn't have this list in the tier maker webpage. Georgios actually created his own list, which will consist only the open games, so it won't be very long, but at the same time I think it will be enough to explain you about the most popular openings, the most popular setups in open games. Here on the stream you can also see the board. I added it for the purpose of showing you how the opening is arising by moves, so that you don't just know the name of it, but you also know how it's coming. And you can also see Georgios is saying something. I think he's welcoming his viewers.
Yeah, I told my community that we will do some tier lists today. This is the first part of our show.
That's great.
Open games.
That's great, and thank you for preparing it.
Ladies first, of course. You can start. I think we can randomly take any opening which is listed there. Yeah, I took the liberty to include 17 openings. It could be more, but I think 17 is more than enough for the beginning.
And we are ready to start, yes? So I start with the Scotch opening, yeah? So first of all,
as you wish. The thing is, where are you showing the openings?
I'm showing in the separate screen from Chessbase, which I prepared for this stream. I took it very professionally.
Okay, then I will just copy your moves. Okay.
Okay, so the Scotch is arising after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and d4. And I think it's quite a decent opening. I have played it many times myself. Nowadays you don't see it so often on the very top level, though from time to time it's played. But I think the opening is pretty good. I think I would go with just putting the Scotch into the good or standard. It's somewhere between there. I wouldn't say it's great, as nowadays people know how to react to it, but I think it's either good or standard. One more thing I would like to mention about Scotch, that usually, especially after e takes d4, knight takes d4 is more or less forced, and now there are two main moves. It is bishop c5 and it's knight f6, and after knight f6 we very often have a very sharp game, while after bishop c5 it's more quiet, but both of the moves are quite okay for black. So I think I will start first with this move.
Which move?
Putting the Scotch opening into the good section. How did you like it?
Wait. Where did you put it? In the good section.
In the good section, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a very logical choice. Okay, I put it also in the good section. Yeah. I forgot this was your first choice and your explanations. Yeah?
Kind of a solid move from my side.
No, I liked it a lot because you were quick, you were exact. That's what I like. Not too much talking, not so many variations. Fantastic. That's what I like. I forgot a very important opening, to be honest, the bomb cloud, but I'm not sure if I can introduce.
You forgot the bomb cloud? How could you do that?
I forgot the bomb cloud. And the problem is, if I now include it, I think our template will again set. So let's go on without the bomb cloud.
You know what we can do? We can just say that Bomb Cloud is definitely a great opening. So just imagine Bomb Cloud is there, the first great opening on our list.
That's it. Ja, okay, Leute. I think you are a bit loud. I have to.
I'm loud. Usually I'm the one who is very quiet, but things changing.
No, you have because I don't know. Maybe I use a filter or something. I have to check it.
How is it in my stream? Are we more or less in the same voice level with Georgie?
Leute, is it better now? Anna?
I mean, I don't know.
Yes, now it should be okay.
Sound is good.
Now it should be okay. Yeah,
Sounds
now
good.
it's okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. So now I'm going to take, I don't know, what do I take? Let's take...
But just go one by one, it's easier.
What do you mean one by one?
Just like according to the list. So
Ruy Lopez. No, let's take it, I don't know, mixed. I take the Latvian Gambit. And the thing is, I have to tell the moves exactly so you can show it on your board too. Yeah?
It's your favorite opening, yeah?
Yeah, not really. Okay, the Latvian Gambit, it's a e4, e5, knight f3, and now f5. This is a very uncommon gambit nowadays. It's not really played anymore. The reason for that is that it's extremely risky. Not really nonsense, but it's extremely risky. Stefan, danke dir für Tier 1. The main move here is just to take the pawn on e5, and black doesn't take back the pawn here because this is a big mistake because of this check here, immediately losing. Queen h5 check and then g6, knight g6, of course, this typical tactics. After knight e5, black usually plays queen f6 and tries somehow to create tactics based on the surprise moment. But actually, I don't see nearly anyone playing this opening anymore, not even in Blitz nowadays. With computer evaluations and all the analysis tools, you know that white is much better in nearly all the lines. Here, white plays d4 after queen f6, now d6. The knight goes back to c4. F takes e4. The main problem in general is that black is not making developing moves. He's bringing out the queen too early, whereas white develops in a normal way and usually gets some development advantage and an opening advantage. So the Latvian Gambit is maybe not nonsense, but risky.
Yes, I think I agree with you. On the top level, I don't remember any game, but I think that for some of our viewers who are lower rated, they can still try it in some of the Blitz games, because f5 will come as a big surprise, and maybe even knight takes e5 won't be played. Maybe some of your opponents will play, let's say, it takes f5, then you can go with e4, and it's already some new position, and you may get even quickly better with black. But yeah, objectively speaking, the opening isn't so good itself. So
yeah,
I would also put it in the risky, tricky section.
Just to remind you, today we are going only to discuss the open games. Open games in chess are all the openings which arise after e4 and e5. These are the open games in chess. So no Sicilian, no Indian openings, no d4, only openings after e4, e5. These are the open games in chess.
Yes, lady in black, thank you. So the next one, I will make it easier. I'll just pick the first one that will be on the list. So I'll go with the Ruy Lopez. And
Okay.
I would definitely rate Ruy Lopez as the great opening and the opening that everybody should study. It doesn't matter what's your rating is, if you're a good player or if you're just a beginner, because it's one of the pillars, I would say, of chess knowledge, different pawn structures, different positions, and many important things that you should know are coming from this opening. So the Ruy Lopez is definitely going to the great, and I will quickly show you how it's coming, but I think all of you are familiar with that. So the Ruy Lopez is after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, and of course there are many lines after starting already after bishop b5. The main moves here are a6, or there is also knight f6, so-called Berlin variation, having the reputation of a very solid opening. Anything you would like to add?
Yes, I like that you don't go very deep into the topic. I would just include some more moves, some more variations. After bishop b5, another move is f5. This is the Danish Gambit in German. I don't know how it's called in English. The Schliemann Gambit? Danish too. Yeah. It's a very interesting gambit. Not bad. I played when I was young, very often. After a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castle, bishop e7, rook e1, castle. Now we have the main variations after c3. Now we have the marshal after d5, or the close. I forgot b5. Sorry. b5 here, bishop b3, castle c3, and now d5, the marshal, or d6, all the closed defenses in the Ruy Lopez. How do we call it?
It's just like the classical. I mean, after d6, h3, there are also a couple of possibilities. d5, mentioned by Georgios, is leading to a very sharp game because black is sacrificing the pawn and trying to get some initiative counterplay based on the fact that you can see white is completely undeveloped at the moment, so then something like bishop d6 is coming, queen h4, some kind of display. Well, if you don't like something sharp, you can go with d6. Now white is usually playing h3 because d4 can be met by bishop g4. And after h3 there is a number of possible setups. There is Zaitsev variation, which is like starting with rook e8 and d4, bishop b7. By the way, there is also a very famous trick, like sometimes you should not forget about bishop f7 ideas, just in case. Also, instead of rook e8, there is knight a5, bishop c2, c5, d4, it's Chigorin variation, and there is also knight b8, what is called the prayer variation. So you have plenty of possibilities here, but all of them are leading to kind of more positional play, while after d5, here marshal, it's more tactical.
Good. That was quite a lot of variations now regarding the Ruy Lopez. There are many more, but we will leave it for now. We will go on with the next opening, I think.
Yeah, maybe the only thing we can mention, if you mentioned the Danish Schliemann with f5, we can also say there is Stanis variation with the d6, or improved Stanis variation when first black plays a6 and then d6, so this is also an option. Also,
Yeah.
there are some lines with bishop c5, with g6. It's a huge, huge opening and a lot of material there.
Yeah. A lot of theory. Okay. The next one is the Ponziani here in the list. The Ponziani, the Ponziani starts after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and now c3. c3, quite a rare move. To be honest, I've nearly never have seen it on top level. The idea is quite simple. White wants to conquer the center with d4. There is one famous streamer, English streamer, Eric Rosen, who's playing it. I don't know if you have seen it, Anna, playing this in his stream.
Not really.
Yeah, of course, he's one of the guys who's trying to use some of his traps in the streams. And okay, after c3, the problem of c3 is you don't develop a piece, and black has time to attack the center. The main moves are knight f6, attacking the pawn on e4,
Hello, Anna.
or d5, attacking the pawn on e4. And in general, objectively, black is okay with both moves, and I would rate this opening as standard. Not risky, not good, but standard. It's quite equal for both sides, I think, in the most positions.
Marcus, thanks for donation. I agree with you that I would only just to add that the serious drawback of playing c3, white's like not so good. The biggest problem of it is that then you can't develop your knight to c3, and like bringing the knight to c3 is the most normal thing in this position. So after c3, black has two main options, and they are also like very logical one. It's just hitting the center with d5 and knight f6, and both of the options are good. I think c3 is playable. I know my sister played it at least once, maybe more than once in a classical game. So it's not something that is completely like that is a complete nonsense. I would not say that it's a great opening, but yeah, it deserves some attention. So I would rate it somewhere between. Yeah, maybe the standard is the best, because I don't think it's really so risky tricky. I think standard is the best according to this list, it is the best.
I like that you agree with everything I say so far. Sweet Hosa, thanks for the prime.
Yeah, I've also got so many subscriptions and some of the donation. Thank you so much. Thanks for supporting our channels. That's really great. Thank you. So,
okay.
My turn?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I have a small problem because we have the Nordic Gambit in the list. Is it the Danish Gambit or?
Yeah, it's the Danish Gambit. Yeah, it's a Danish Gambit.
Okay, so it's coming from e4, e5, knight of3, d5. Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
e4, e5, knight f3.
d5.
No, this is the elephant gambit.
Okay.
No, it's d4, I think. e d4 and then c3.
Oh no! This is the thing I have never tried. Because I don't think it's so good. I mean, please, I'll try to correct myself. I don't think it's like very bad, because it really depends on which level you're going to play it. I mean, if you play this against the Grandmaster would be just like, yoo-hoo! How great that you are playing something very strange and something that, you can even get an opening advantage from the opening. With black pieces. But if you are playing it on the lower on the lower level, this may actually be very interesting, especially the lower it is, the better. Because what people know when they learn to play chess, to take the material they see. Yeah, so they, after d4, they saw the pawn, they took it. After c3, they see the pawn, and very likely they will take it. Then very often whites play bishop c4 and black again. Oh, there is one more pawn, let's take it. And after bishop b2, they are finally, well, but these bishops are quite strong. Like now black cannot develop the f8 bishop. If black plays knight f6, then after e5 it's not so clear where to move this knight. And it's already like black is a bit in trouble. So sometimes with this opening, people on the, I wouldn't say the beginner level, but on the lower level, they can actually win a lot of points. And I think that's why it deserves attention. I would still put it in risky, tricky group, but I wouldn't say it's a nonsense.
Okay. You're so enthusiastic. I like it. Very nice. I have to add something, but it's a very good point she mentioned is that it depends really on the level of the players if this opening is good or not. And for professionals, this is not a really dangerous weapon because black will always react after c3. Black players will react on top level with d5, the typical counter attack in open games in the center, attacking the pawn on e4. Whereas many amateurs and beginners will take the pawn on c3, and then they are in big trouble because white will either develop the bishop to c4, try to sacrifice even a third pawn on b2, and then white will have two extremely dangerous bishops, or white will just take the pawn on c3 with the knight, and here also he will have great compensation because of better development. A very easy play, which is similar to the Mora Gambit in the Sicilian defense. White would just develop the pieces with freedom, whereas black has always to defend against some kind of tactics. But the best answer after c3 is d5, guys. Just try to remember this move, and then you will be okay.
Yeah, because e takes d5 is more or less forced, then queen takes d5, and finally I think white has to take the pawn on d4 to take the pawn back. But then black actually develops the initiative with knight c6, knight f3, bishop g4, and this is considered to be very good for black.
Yeah. Where do you put this up?
Was
it my turn?
It went to risky, tricky.
Risky?
Yeah. In your case, it's risky. In my case, I named it risky, tricky.
Risky, tricky. Is it? Yeah, it's risky. It's risky. Let's put it on risky. Because if black reacts correctly, then I rather would not play it with white. Okay, the next one is a I think I misspelled it. It's Giuoco Piano, not Giuoco. Or Italian game.
Yeah, it's like sometimes people say it's the same, and actually it's almost the same because it's coming from e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, and
bishop c4.
After bishop c4 it's kind of Italian, but Giuoco Piano is covering only the move bishop c5, if I'm not mistaken, while here another important direction is knight to f6.
But for this we have the two knights defense for knight f6. So let's just mention now bishop c5 and all the stuff created after this move, which is a lot actually. You have the old kind of way to treat this opening with c3, knight f6, and now the risky d4, sacrificing a pawn after ed4, cd4, bishop b4, knight c3, knight e4. This is very old stuff and quite risky. But of course, the modern way to play this line is with c3, knight f6, and d3. And now, for instance, castle, and here this is a very this is a jungle of theory nowadays, because on top level this is played a lot, but also on amateur level, it's a very natural opening, because white is developing his pieces in a natural way, bishop out, knight out, bringing the king into safety, then try to fight for the center with c3 and d4. Then you have this typical maneuvers with knight d2, rook e1, knight f1, knight g3. Always remember, keep for the bishop on c4 a retreat option like a3 or a4 to retreat the bishop if it's attacked. Black has more or less the same way to treat this opening, with a6, retreating the bishop to a7 in many ways. Or a very concrete plan is to play d6, a5 and rook e8 and bishop e6 to exchange the light squared bishops. These are some of the ideas in this opening. Then I forgot, I wanted to mention also the Evans Gambit, which is arising after b4 in the fourth move. Bishop b4, c3. This is also another gambit here, famous and old gambit, which can be played too. Yeah, do you want to add something, Anna?
Yeah, there are also some systems when white delay with playing c3 and they play knight c3 like I did. Maybe you remember one of my last games. I won a very nice game recently. Also, one important direction is c3, knight f6, and after d4 e takes d4, not c takes d4 but e5. It's also played quite often, and it was met even on the high level, so d5 is the principal move here. But in general, I would like to say why we see bishop c4 so often here on different levels and even on the very top level is because the positions arising here are really very deep, and it's really necessary to understand them very well, because it may seem like there is no difference if we start from c3 and then we play d3 and then let's say after, I mean even here if we start from castling or if we start from d6 or if we start from a6, sometimes it's transposed, but actually all these moves they have some little nuances, and even on the top level they try to trick each other with all these different move orders, and there is still a lot of space for creativity, because let's say some of the sharp, especially some forced lines, some sharp openings, they are already analyzed until the until like move 40, and top players know it's a draw and they don't enter it, or like they try to surprise their opponents, they go for some other things. That's why you can see, because here you don't really see many sharp lines, I mean especially in this d3 and c3 setup, or d3 with castling. Usually the player who understands the position better wins. So for positional player this is really very recommendable in my opinion.
I would like to add one line, the Italian killer attack. You know the Italian killer attack?
It's the first time I hear that. Maybe I know the line, but I don't know.
I include the link in your chat. This is a video I did after c3. Okay, bishop c4, bishop c5, c3. Knight f6, d4, e takes d4, and now castle.
Castle, okay, yeah.
Do you know this line?
Yeah, I know this line. How is it called?
I did a video calling it in German the Italian killer attack, and it has around 220,000 views right now, and it's very successful. Because on amateur level, this is very, very dangerous, but of course not on professional level, of course. The only thing black needs to know in this line, guys, is take the pawn on the e4 with a knight, cd4, and then counter in the center with d5. Actually, this counter attack in the center with d5 is very important in the open games and should be really memorized, because it's used in many lines to counter white's attacks in the center.
Yeah, true. Also, we have already seen it once when I showed the line with like e5 on move 6, and then d5 is the main move and the way to react it, the best way.
Yeah.
So here also d5 is a very important move to memorize. Otherwise, because if you move the bishop somewhere, like to, let's say, e7, here you see that you may have problems over the e file. I mean, let's think it from black side, and they think, okay, I just move the bishop to e7 and I feel safe, but actually you don't feel so safe as d5 is coming, and then it's already not so clear where to move the knight, and it's really unpleasant to go with the knight to b8, and the knight on a5 won't feel comfortable either. So
Yeah.
please,
I
d5.
rate this opening as great.
Great. I think it's really great. If the greatest players are playing it, then it should be great.
Yeah.
Here we go with the Elephant Gambit.
Yeah. What's the Elephant Gambit?
What's the Elephant Gambit? It's d5 now, yes? After
Yes.
knight f3, d5. I think it's very similar to what we have covered after f5. Both of the moves are not seen, they are like almost never seen on the top level, and I don't even remember, I can't recall any game that someone plays d5 against me. Did you have any games with d5?
Not high-level games, but in Blitz or Bullets, there are a few players playing it, much more than the Latvian Gambit. And it's much more dangerous than the Latvian Gambit.
Yes, because here, if someone carelessly take on d5, then maybe after e4 it's already quite unpleasant.
Yeah. Do you know that there was published a book from Quality Chess 1 month ago or 2 months ago about the Elephant Gambit?
No, I didn't see it.
By 2 Danish authors. And guess how many pages they have analyzed the position after bishop d6, not e4 actually, but bishop d6. 400 pages about this stuff. I like your gesture, your mimic. Amazing. 400 pages about this opening. It's amazing. It's a scientific work actually, and all in all, they struggle, of course, to find objective equality or not equality, not even I don't know, playable positions, but it's all about tactics, it's all about ideas, and it's all about somehow surprise your opponent. And from my experience, this is not so easy to counter in blitz games if you don't really know the theory, at least 1-2 lines, especially the line after e4. Because after e4, the best move is queen e2. And queen e2 is a very difficult move for beginners to make, because they don't want to move the queen so early in the game. I had some blitz games where I streamed and played against weaker opponents, and I played e4. And do you know what they played against me? One of them played knight g5, and I took the knight, of course. And the other one played knight g1 because he didn't know what to do with the knight.
Knight g1 is definitely better.
Yeah. But the best move is queen e2, guys. And then after knight f6, d3. It's not so easy, actually, because sometimes white just continues with bishop e7, and you take the second pawn, then he castles, and then you don't know what to do with the queen and the king in the center. I mean, this is better for white, but in blitz games, it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
I think white should try to go for a long castle with knight c3, developing the bishop, and then for a long castle. We can even sacrifice one of the pawns because we are already 2 pawns up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, after bishop d6, knowing that someone wrote 400 pages just on this position, that's astonishing. Though I don't think it was a good, how to say. I mean, I think it was better to spend time and to write 400 pages about something else rather than this, because that would be more profitable. Because after, I don't know.
Yeah, these guys are, of course, how to say, they like the opening. They played also in correspondence games. I don't know. Yeah, they are, how do you say? They like the opening. They like the opening, and that's the reason for that, of course.
Yeah, I see. I see. They must really love the opening, not only like it.
Yeah. So, how would you rate this fantastic Elephant Gambit opening?
I think the fantastic elephant gambit will, let's put it to risky, tricky. It's
Yeah, I put it also there. Risky, tricky, risky.
Yeah.
So the next one is the King's Gambit. King's Gambit, guys, it's one of the oldest opening, maybe the oldest opening in chess history. It starts after e4, e5, and then f4. White is offering a pawn sacrifice. The idea is just if black takes the pawn, then white usually continues with knight f3. And the main idea, as usually with gambits, as the Queen's Gambit too, you want to have more influence in the center. You want to conquer the center with more pawns. And that's the basic idea. Of course, it's risky to move in the second, move the f pawn in front of your king, and you're opening your king a bit. To be honest, I'm not sure about the evaluation. I think this opening also, the value of the opening depends also who is playing it, against whom you are playing it. On professional level, you nearly never see this opening. I don't know why, actually, because it isn't that bad objectively, I think. But on amateur level, I think this can be a very, very dangerous opening. One of the problems is it has a lot of theory after knight f3. Black has a lot of moves, and this is something you don't really like. If you play a risky opening, you don't like to memorize too many lines. Black can play g5, which looks a bit odd, but it's a very strong move to just defend the pawn and sometimes threat g4. But you have so many other moves like d6, like d5. I think Fischer played d5. I'm not sure. Knight d7 would. Yeah.
Yeah, there is also d5 on the second move.
Yeah, the second move also. You can, of course, also, you don't need to take the pawn on f4. You can also counter the gambit with d5, or you can counter the gambit with bishop c5, which is also a very interesting move. So there are so many options, which is kind of annoying if you want to play such an opening as a beginner, because you want to play a gambit and don't memorize too many lines. All in all, I would rate this opening as, this is now a bit difficult because it has a lot of history. There's a lot of history. Objectively, probably it's a risky opening, but historically, it deserves to be higher ranked. So I say standard.
Standard.
Which is a bit, a mixture. Yeah.
That's quite logical. I think also with your explanations, people understood what we mean. There is actually a reason why it's not played so often on the top level. Sometimes you can see people playing f4 in blitz and in rapid games. I mean the top players, but no. I mean in the classical games, almost never. The only game which I just remembered, it was played quite recently in one of the Carlsen's tournament, and Carlsen played f4 and he lost to Dean, and the setup Dean used in this game was playing knight f6. after third move knight f3, and then after e5 he went for knight h5, and he won a nice game. It may look strange to put the knight on h5, but on the other hand we are pawn up, and knight on h5 is doing a good job with defending this pawn. Then black's plan is to play d6 and to develop normally. And in general, after f4, it takes f4. One more reason why it's not played on the top level, it's not only because it's risky, but actually computers don't like it, and they start giving advantage to black already after move 2. So top players definitely don't want to face that, or they just play it in the games with quicker time controls.
Mhm. So where do you put the King's Gambit?
At the same standard.
Really?
I think it's between standard and risky tricky. For up to 2000, and I think most of our viewers are rated under 2000, I think it's a very decent opening. So you can try it. Just as Georgie mentioned, you should learn quite a lot of theory after f4 because black has a lot of setups. But I wouldn't say it's a bad opening for you. For you, it's good. For the higher level, it's becoming more difficult. Though even some grandmasters play it quite often, so it's definitely not that bad.
Okay.
Okay, my turn, and we go with the Vienna game.
Vienna game, yeah.
It's easy.
It's easier.
It's easy. e4, e5, knight c3, and we are already in the Vienna game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So what can I say about Vienna game? In general, of course, knight f3 is the main move. It's more popular, and it's a better way to fight for the advantage. But after knight f3, you have to learn a lot of theory. You have to learn something after knight c6. You also have to learn Petrov. I mean, these two mains. Also, you have to learn a bit of d6, but okay, d6 we will consider a bit of a sideline. And also f5, d5, all of these tricky lines we have mentioned. But after knight c3, the game is not so sharp, unless you would like to choose something like knight f6 and then you want to go with f4. Then, of course, it's a different story. It's quite a sharp opening. Or also d4 here. And maybe you remember a nice game played by Daniel Dubov against Hikaru, I think. Yeah, he won a nice game. So then it's a different story. But usually after knight c3, people are trying to avoid a lot of theory, and some of them just use the setup with the g3, followed by bishop g2, knight g2, castle, and so on. Black also has some options. They can try to play more actively with d5, or they can play without d5. They can go for knight c6 or for bishop c5. But in general, I would say knight f3 is preferable, but knight c3 shouldn't be neglected. Knight c3 is not without Ano. So you may try to pay some attention to knight c3, and I'm thinking about rating it between either in good or as a standard. Georgie, can you help me?
Maybe let's don't rate it the same way this time. Let's start to rate it different.
You don't want it to be easy, yeah? I see.
Take your choice.
Take my choice. I think I will go with standard.
Okay. One line, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but after knight c3, knight f6, sorry, knight c3, knight f6, guys, which is played a lot by amateurs, is f4.
Yeah, I did mention it.
You did mention it.
Yeah, f4 and d4, these moves will lead to a sharp game.
Okay. Yeah. Bishop c4 also, there is this Dracula Frankenstein gambit.
Forget about it.
No. After bishop c4, there is this knight e4, isn't it?
Yeah, knight e4, and now the main move is queen h5 because...
Knight d6, yeah, and this is called, I think, Dracula Frankenstein.
Yeah, like knight takes e4 is not so good because of d5. Bishop f7, yes, you leave black without the castle, but black gets a very strong center and pair of two powerful bishops, so this cannot be recommended. So if you play bishop c4, knight e4, then you should definitely go for queen h5. And here some people may already be like, oh my god, maybe I have missed something, but in fact not. And yeah, there are some moves. I think the main one is knight to d6, yeah?
Knight d6, yeah.
And now there are two moves for white, which is one is queen e5 and another one is bishop b3.
No, bishop b3 is the critical one.
The critical one, because after queen e5, black has a choice between queen e7 and playing more or less equal endgame, or even bishop e7. Do we have bishop e7? I think we have bishop e7. And it's also more or less equal here. Though I remember, like last year, Aronian played it with white. So if Aronian played it with white, you may understand it can't be bad. But the critical one is bishop b3. We want not just to regain the pawn, but we want to keep the pressure. And maybe like later on to take this pawn even with the knight if we come with knight f3, knight e5.
And there is one trap here. If black plays knight c6, I think then there is this famous trap. White plays knight b5, deflecting the knight on d6. And black cannot take the knight because of the mate on f7. This is a trap you have to watch out in this line with black, if you play it.
Yeah, it's still not the end because there is g6 from black's side and the line goes something like queen f3, black has to play f5, queen d5, and there are even many computer games played right on this position. You may check them if you're interested, but maybe, I mean, knight c6 is such a natural move, and after knight b5 maybe you will even like immediately win many of the games because people will think that they have to protect the f7 pawn and they will play something like queen e7 or queen f6. You simply take on c7 and you are happy with gaining some rating points. So it's not so easy.
Yeah, this was the only line I wanted to include to further mention. Yeah, Vienna game. You said standard, I say the same at the end. It's a standard opening, nothing special. You can play it, but don't expect too much out of the Vienna game. The next one on the list is the Bishop's Opening. This is very easy too, because it starts after e4, e5, and now Bishop c4. This is the start of the Bishop's Opening. Most of the time, it transposes to the Italian game. Because after knight c6, knight f3, we are in the Italian game. In the top level, white is playing the bishop's opening in order to avoid the Petrov's defense. If white is 100% sure that black is playing the Petrov's defense after knight f3, knight f6, you can play in the second move bishop c4. Now knight f6, I think white is continuing with d3. And he's avoiding the main lines of the Petrov's defense. Here the main line goes by c6, I think. Knight f3, d5, bishop b3. And now we enter the cosmos of the bishop's opening, which is a very interesting opening, by the way. I think white has many very nice ideas here. He delayed the development of the knight on b1. And it's not so easy. Black cannot really win the pawn on e4 because of knight g5 in this line, attacking f7 and attacking e4. If you are interested in this opening, there is one grandmaster who was playing it very regularly on top level. This is Sergei Tiviakov, a Russian grandmaster who lives in the Netherlands. And he also published some DVDs. And I think it's a very, very, very serious opening. But the thing is that Black can, of course, play knight c6, and most of the time, White transposes to the Italian game. I don't remember now exactly. Is there a way for White to avoid the transposition to the Italian game? I think there is with d3. Anna, is it?
Yeah, in some games White plays d3 followed by f4, and that also deserves attention. So this is another way to play it. Just you have to be careful with Black's moves, like for example d3, for example knight f6, f4, bishop c5. Sometimes you have to be careful with knight f3, knight g4, even though knight g4 is not like winning the game, but you have to know how to react to that. But mainly I agree, bishop c4 is played in order to avoid the Petrov. I don't think Petrov is one of the most popular openings among like people under 2000, because people say like, oh no, it's boring, let's play something more interesting. But if maybe I know that even in like within my community there are some people who like who like to go for the Petrov. So if you want to avoid the Petrov, you can start with second move bishop c4, and it's completely normal. So as Georgie mentioned, you are avoiding the Petrov, but you are allowing this line with knight f6, d3, c6. And after knight f3, d5, bishop b3, you have to know how to react to many of Black's replies. D takes e4 is actually just a mistake, because after knight g5 it's difficult to protect the pawn on f7. But instead of d takes e4, the main moves are bishop d6 immediately, or bishop b4 and only after c3 bishop d6. Why did we need that? We needed that because Black has a strong center and Black wants to keep it, while White wants to attack the center, and if Black goes immediately bishop d6, then White can attack with knight c3, bishop g5, maybe starting with bishop g5, maybe sometimes first taking on d5, maybe in fact first making the castle and all these things. So with checking on b4 first, we take this c3 square away from the knight. So only then bishop d6, and then it's actually easier to keep the center. Another interesting line, and the line which is seen quite often, is when Black plays a5. The idea is very primitive. We just want to play a4 and trap the bishop. So for example, even after e takes d5, you can play a4, bishop c4, b5. Good. But if White goes with a3, sometimes there are ideas, not immediately but later on after the development, that Black plays a4 followed by rook a5, and the rook is protecting the d5 pawn with this quite artificial way, but this is the line. Also, of course, White may play a4 here, but it's like in some of the lines the inclusion of the moves a5, a4 is in Black's favor. So that are like these are like the main directions. We can't actually go too deep into the opening, because then only for one opening we will need more than one day.
Yeah, but you know a lot about this opening. I'm surprised.
Georgie, don't you think that I have to know something about chess after 25 years of
But about
playing?
the bishop's opening, rook a5, what a nuance.
Okay,
Nice.
what can I do?
What a nuance. So the bishop's opening, Actually, I would rate it better than standard because it's better than the Ponziani and the King's Gambit and the Vienna Game. It's a very serious opening, although it's not played a lot. It's a good opening.
Yeah, I also think so. It's even played on the top level, so
Yeah.
so makes sense. Oh, Petrov defense! We were talking about it. Petrov, our favorite, maybe not our, but definitely a favorite opening, but by many top players. What do I think about the Petrov? I think that it's very, very solid, and I think it's good for people who like don't have these high expectations, who just want to get a normal position, who don't want to enter some complicated lines. Well, there are still some lines which are quite complicated, but usually we get the position where these central pawns are gone. So for example, after knight f6 there are three main moves. The main move is knight to e5. Also there is d4, a very serious move. And also white can try to transpose to 4 knights after knight c3, knight c6, though black also had an option of playing bishop b4 here. But yeah, the main ones are knight e5 or d4, and after knight e5 black plays d6. Please don't play knight e4 because after queen e2 you will be actually in troubles. That's not good for black. So first,
Anna,
yes,
what about knight c6
instead of d6.
instead of d6? Yeah?
I heard about it, but I still think that a person who plays Petrov should play solid. So they should go for d6.
But you know this move, the Stafford Gambit.
I know, I even saw it, someone very strong playing knight c6 in some blitz game. So, I mean, if you spend like a few minutes looking at knight c6, you will realize that after knight c6, black doesn't have enough of compensation in this line. So it's not that.
Maybe we should bullet play this line and go with white.
I'm so bad in bullets, so that I think better we don't try it, because any line for you will be okay. I mean, with you especially having so much experience in bullet. So
It would be fun. It would be fun. No, you know that the Stafford Gambit is a big meme in the chess internet community because of Eric Rosen again and other streamers. And actually, in bullet and in blitz games with low time control, like 3 without any increment, it's a very dangerous thing if you don't know how to react against it. But of course, it's not really serious. It's objectively, white is better. Sorry, I interrupted you. You were continuing with d6?
no, it's fine. You
knight
actually mentioned a very interesting possibility, and I believe some of our viewers may get interested in that, and they will check it a little bit more and win some games. So yeah, but the main move is d6. We ask the knight to go away. Now the main move is knight f3. Sometimes you could see the games with knight c4, and that was even played in the World Championship matches, for example, the one between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana. So the idea of knight c4 is that after knight e4, queen e2, queen e7, then to play knight e3, heading for the d5 square. But if I remember correctly, Caruana reacted in a very surprising but quite a good way. He played knight c6, and after knight d5 he played knight d4. With bringing the game into the endgame, and he comfortably equalized. Though of course, like, not so many people will know it, and after knight e3, maybe many people would just play c6, but okay, it's another story. Once upon a time, really long ago, knight f7 was the move that was tested in many of the games. And the main trick here is that after king f7 d4, black cannot take on e4 because of the check on h5. So after g6 there is queen d5, after king g8 there is also queen d5, king e6 is just too risky, and after king e7 I think it's queen e2. So I mean, in general you should just know that you shouldn't take that pawn, but you should just play, I think c5 is considered to be the main move here.
c5, yeah.
And after it was checked with the engine, and the engine is showing, is like here, the engine is showing quite a big advantage for black, so white stopped playing knight f7. I don't even remember when I saw the last game with knight f7. So normally people go knight f3, and after knight e4 we enter this position with symmetrical pawn structure, which is very solid for black. And now there are many moves which were tested for white here, but okay, we are speaking about Petrov defense. We will not go deeper. I think it was already quite deep, and quite many variations have been mentioned. So how would I rate Petrov's defense? I think it's great. I think it's a great opening actually on any level. It's a bit too boring if you are a tactical player, but it's great if you are a solid positional player. Moreover, a big plus of the Petrov is that, well, you have to learn only one opening. After e4 you play e5, most likely people will go for knight f3, and after knight f6 you are already in the Petrov. Comparing to knight c6, after knight c6 you have to be ready like for Scotch, for Ruy Lopez, for Italian, Giuoco Piano, for 4 knights. I mean, it's much wider.
And this is my video about the Petrov's defense in German language, where I recommend in the main line after knight d5, knight f6, knight e5, d6, knight f3, knight e4, d4, d5, bishop d3. This is the old main line, where I recommend the quite new move bishop f5, where you don't need to memorize many lines, which has been played on top level quite a lot in recent years, and black is doing well. So you don't need to memorize a lot of lines, and you're very solid in this opening, yeah?
Yeah.
And as Anna said, if you want to have a solid game after the opening without memorizing too many lines, I think Petrov is a very fine opening. It deserves actually to be played much, much more by amateur players. But as you said, Anna, all the amateur players want to attack from the beginning on instead of being patient. And yeah, then the Petrov is, of course, quite boring sometimes. Maybe quite boring. I don't know. I actually played 2 times the Petrov, and I had 2 times a quite chaotic game. I don't know why. Very strange.
Yeah, it's usually because if one side doesn't want some chaotic game, it doesn't mean that the other side doesn't want it. So maybe white creates something, and then it gets sharp.
Oh. Objectively speaking, it's a great opening because it has been played by very strong players like Vladimir Kramnik played it a lot, ex-world champion. Caruana is playing a lot. The Chinese players are playing it a lot. Magnus Carlsen is not playing it, to be honest. I never saw Magnus Carlsen playing the Petrov. He's playing always the Ruy Lopez or Italian game.
He has tried many openings, but Petrov is not one of his favorites, yeah.
No, maybe it's too passive for him. I don't know. Okay, we have some openings left. The 4 knights game. The 4 knights game is e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6. Yeah, very easy to memorize. 4 knights are out in the game, and that's the reason for the name. White has here some options. The main line in the 4 knights game goes with bishop b5, developing the bishop and preparing castle. Here black has two main options. The one is bishop b4, just mirroring the white's moves. Castle, and we have a quite slow game, a bit boring, quite equal. A bit more entertaining is the move knight d4 here, attacking the bishop. After bishop b5, knight d4, attacking the bishop. Here this is much more entertaining, I would say. Then we have, instead of bishop b5, we have g3. I remember one Russian grandmaster, Igor Glek, playing this a lot in the 90s, like crazy. He was very successful with it, with g3.
I mean g3, yeah. Maybe you can just mention that after bishop b5 there is also bishop c5 and bishop d6. They are one of the main
bishop
lines.
c5?
Yeah, bishop c5 is played quite often, and bishop d6 is also played quite often. For example, if bishop c5 is more or less understandable, then bishop d6 may look a little bit strange, but black's plan after bishop d6 is to play castle, followed by knight e7, c6, bishop c7, d5, and this knight from e7 goes to g6. So if you make all this, then you will actually have a great setup with black. Yeah, sorry.
Very easy, very easy idea. Easy to memorize, yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I was talking about g3, and here the main line goes, of course, d5, and it transposes, I think, to Vienna game. After taking on d5, knight d5, bishop g2, take on c3, take on c3, and I think this is actually transposing to the Vienna game. It's very similar.
Yes, it can be. In Vienna, sometimes white develops the knight to e2, but the main setup is with the knight on f3. Why I know so much about bishop b5, I mean, first move bishop b5, is because I play it myself quite often. So
with white?
Yeah, with white.
Okay.
So yeah.
So maybe you should do it. Maybe you should do a video.
Oh.
Oh. Okay. Other options here are d4, but this d4 transposes to the Scotch, because after e4, knight d4, the main move by far is bishop b4, and then we have a main line of the Scotch opening. Very old and a very old and known line. Okay, minor moves are moves like bishop e2 or a3 in the fifth move, with the idea to get a better version of some d5 lines if black plays d5, but these are only, I think, surprise weapons. There is also a move which many amateurs are playing, is bishop c4, and here, Anna, black has, of course, the possibility to take the pawn on e4 with the knight, and after knight e4 he gets the pawn back with d5, and has a very nice position with black, because at the end black has a pawn in the center. After bishop d3, take on e4, bishop e4, and bishop d6. This is an equal position, but black has a pawn in the center, which is, of course, favorable for him. That's the reason why on top level you will rarely see someone playing bishop c4. Most of the players, like Super Runner, play bishop b5.
Yeah, or d4. I can just add that the ideas of this a3, sometimes maybe you saw some h3, is that white is waiting, and if black goes with d5, then e takes d5, knight d5, and we play bishop b5, and we get exactly the same position as in the line of here. You see it's reversed. After first move d4, e takes d4, knight d4, bishop b4, so it's exactly the same, but just imagine black has an extra tempo with h6 or a6, so that this is the reason behind playing a3 or h3 here. But on the other hand, black is not forced to go d5, although it's very normal to play d5 here, but now black can try to play bishop b4 or some other move. So I mean, just that you understand the idea of this waiting move and a little bit strange looking move because it's not developing the piece.
Yeah, nice explanations. Where do I rate it? Anna is playing it, so it's a good opening. Come on, it's a good opening.
For knights, it's a very solid opening. I agree that rating is it's a good opening. It's a good choice.
Very good choice. You have to make a video. I would watch this video because I never played in my life the 4 Knights game to play.
Oh, I think I have played like 20 games or maybe more. So yeah, I do have some experience.
Okay.
So my turn, just a few openings left. So center game. The center game, must be some game in the center. And I would guess, what is the center game? Just second move d4?
Yeah, e4, e5, d4.
e4, e5, d4. So here we're in the center game. And I can't tell you right here what I think about it because it mainly depends what you want to do after e takes d4 because there are some options.
I think take it with the queen, yeah? It's the center game.
Yeah, so about c3, we have been talking before. There is
before, yeah.
Queen d4. And there is also, for example, knight f3. And knight f3 has the idea of also avoiding the Petrov, so there will be no Petrov. If black plays knight c6, we are in the Scotch. So if you are ready to play Scotch and if you want to avoid Petrov, you may think about playing knight f3. But also you have to be prepared for third move d5 and for third move bishop b4. So actually these moves are also quite good for black. If we are speaking about central opening only after queen takes d4, then to be honest I don't know what to tell you because this play is actually like violating the opening rules. Because how are we taught to play chess? First we have to develop the minor pieces. We shouldn't develop the queen because the queen will be under the attack. For example, after knight c6 we have to make another move with the queen, and this is kind of looking not so great. So for the beginners I wouldn't recommend that because it's not correct. First of all, you should learn how to play chess correctly. While for the higher rated players, this actually deserves attention because first of all you are taking your opponent a bit out of the theory, and a very strong grandmaster Jan Nepomniachtchi has tried it a couple of times, not only in the Blitz and Rapid games but also in the classical games. He continued with Queen e3. The idea is that after knight f6 he plays knight c3, bishop b4, bishop d2, short castle, long castle, and now after rook e8 there are some lines where white is sacrificing the e4 pawn, like for example with playing queen g3, and the position gets very complicated. So white is attacking black's skin, and black really needs to know how to react to that, because if you don't know theory then you may have some problems. For example, one of the problems is that after bishop c3 you can't take with the knight because it runs into the checkmate. It's just one of the problems. And the main move after queen g3 is actually rook e4, which I believe the lower rated players they not so many of them. I wouldn't say none of them know about it, but if you don't know, you will never play it. If you know, then okay. Then you're actually not such a lower-rated player.
Yeah, I've played this line in blitz games quite often, and it depends really on your opponent. The stronger the opponent, the more you get this rook e8, queen g3, and rook e4 line, which is good for black, because black is winning a pawn basically for a rather dubious compensation. But the more weaker the opponent, they play many times they play something like rook e8, queen g3, and then d6, and then you can play f3, and then you have the liberty to attack on the king side with h4, h5, h6, or yeah, it's a very easy play because you have saved the pawn on e4, and then you have really good attacking chances on the king side. So try it out in blitz games if you want, but it's risky. It's risky.
Yeah, I was about to say that I am going to put this opening into the risky, tricky category. I don't know what.
So let's do it.
I don't know what else I can add about it.
No, it's a risky opening. Yeah, it's a risky opening. Now we come to a not risky opening. This is the two knights defense, but it depends, of course, how you play it. The two knights defense starts after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, and now knight f6, and not bishop c5. Knight f6 is the other main move here in this position, developing the knight, very natural move, attacking the pawn on e4. And now with white you have two basic continuations to defend this pawn. The one is very natural d3, which is by far the main line. But of course you have this knight g5 stuff. At the same time attacking the pawn on f7, which leads to very tactical lines. But here white is neglecting his development. After d5, ed5, knight a5, and so on and so on. There is a lot of theory actually in the line after bishop b5 check, c6, take on c6, and then going back to d3 with the bishop, which looks a bit unnatural because you're blocking the pawn on d3. But bishop d3 has the idea to defend, to control the square e4, and after h6 you can go back to e4 with the knight. This has been played quite a lot in the past 2 decades, also on top level. It has been extensively analyzed. I don't really like this line from white's perspective because you have to play some rather strange looking engine moves to keep the tension and the compensation, and not the compensation, to keep some initiative. I really don't like it. The main reason is you don't develop your pieces. All in all, I don't play this knight g5. I myself play exclusively d3, protecting the pawn on e4. And here black can transpose to the Italian game, Giuoco Piano with bishop c5. This is actually played a lot by many players in order to avoid several lines which are arising after c3, after bishop c5 in the third move, because here you can't go to the Evans Gambit or other strange gambits or other gambits. But many times players play bishop b7, then we castle, and then a big tabia is here rook e1, d6, a4. This is also a very, very important line in theory, which has been played a lot, and is played a lot. I myself played with white a lot, and black has a lot of possibilities here. He can try to exchange the bishops via bishop a6. He can go even king h8 with the idea knight g8 and f5, which is very risky, but it's playable. Then the other line is knight a5, attacking the bishop, going back with the bishop, and black tries to have more control of the center with c5. So a lot to know here, after d3. What else in the two knights defense?
There is
White
also
can play
d4.
d4, yeah. d4. ed4, and here white can play e5 or castle. Yeah, these are the main moves. Remember, after e5, of course, we counter with d5 as black. Counter attack in the center. Any other move is really bad. And after bishop b5, we go to e4 with the knight. And here, this is this is a tabia for itself.
Okay, I can't say that all the other moves are bad because actually knight e4 or even knight g4 are not that bad in this position.
No, I mean d5 is very, very important.
But
from black.
no, knight e4 is also quite good.
Knight e4?
Yeah,
okay.
knight e4, and then the theory goes like queen e2, knight c5, then the knight comes to e6. White plays something like short castle or d1, but black is quite okay in this line, so I would say the main moves are d5 and knight e4. I mean, if to sum it up, for sharp players, for players who like some tactics, craziness on the board, I would recommend to go for knight g5 or d4. I think I would prefer knight g5 because this is the move that I played so often when I was a kid. But you have to be really very careful, as Georgios mentioned, because you are playing without the development. You are playing with the pawn up. Also, instead of bishop d3, here are some moves like bishop e2, there is queen f3. But whatever you choose, in every line, black will have a serious initiative, and there will be always a serious counterplay. So you really have to know what you are doing after that. After d4 there is less of theory, but I mean if you choose between knight g5 and d4, I think knight g5 is more challenging. While if you don't want to go into any craziness and you prefer to play solidly, to play positionally, then just go for d3, and yeah, we will have kind of maneuvering game. You have to know more the ideas rather than concrete lines.
Correct. So, two knights defense, but this is from black's perspective. Of course, this is a good opening.
I have done it.
Actually, this should be rated even great because it transposes a lot to the Giuoco Piano.
Yeah, between great and good.
Yeah, between great and good, yeah. I put it on good. Good.
Yes. It is. It's a good opening, it's almost great, or it is great, just you think it's good. Whatever you prefer.
Both options are... logical.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Reasonable.
And now I'm in troubles because we have 3 openings and I have no idea what does it mean. Damiano Defense, Parham Attack, and Napoleon Opening. But Napoleon Opening is first move knight c3, no?
No.
Knight c3 followed by knight f3.
No. We have e4, e5, and then it's all open games.
Okay, what is Damiano Defense? Please enlighten.
Come on, Damiano's Defense, the worst opening in chess history. e4, e5, knight f3, and now f6.
No! Just never play it. Just never do it because after knight e5, white is winning.
Yeah, it's basically winning, but it's called Damiano's Defense. It exists, yeah.
So
okay, it's winning.
I guess it was named after some Damiano player, but if he played f6 so often to deserve that the opening is named after his name, how bad was Damiano then?
Yeah, he was one of the first chess players actually. He was in the 16th century or 17th, I don't know. And it's named after him. I don't know if he played it or if he just analyzed it. Maybe he analyzed it more. I don't think there were so many chess players at that time. But we have to show the line why white is winning.
Yeah,
because after f e5, queen h5 check, black has serious problems after g6, then after queen takes a5, double attack, white is winning the rook on h8. Yes.
Or another line with king e7, which
E7.
acts queen e5, king f7 is 4, then bishop c4. Then like king g6 is just like very bad because queen f5, king h6, I think d4, g5, and just h4.
h4 and white is winning.
King is in trouble, so it's better to play d5 after bishop c4, so that the bishop controls the f5 square, but still it's like very bad for black. Just
because of h4 too, and then we are threatening mate h5, d4, and something like that. Believe it or not, I made a video about this opening too, of course.
Is there an opening you didn't take the video of?
On my channel you find any videos on any nonsense also, on traps and non-serious openings also.
Okay, that's definitely.
Damiano wrote a book in the 16th century where this opening is mentioned, and this is probably the reason why it's named after him.
Well, that's definitely a very bad opening for black. Don't play it. Not only because it's losing actually, but also due to the fact that f6, you take this square away from the knight. And even if you just play bishop c4, it will be very difficult for black to castle. So it's not only bad because of the tactical reason, but it's also bad because of the strategical reason. So, I mean, though it's seen very often from the beginners, I mean, for people who just know how to move the pieces, somehow after knight f3, they usually, I mean, these people who just know how to move the pieces, they first try to play only with the pawns. So after knight f3, you may face f6 very often. So if you are like playing against someone very, very, very weak, just remember that after knight e5 you can actually win the game just in a few moves.
Yeah, but there is one funny line actually. After f6, knight e5, if you want to play this line with black, you have to play then queen e7, not taking on e5, attacking the knight, and here white should not play queen h5 check, I think, because of g6. And if knight g6, then we have queen e4 check, double attacking and winning the knight on g6. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a fantastic line.
I have idea about serious openings.
It's very serious, and white has to go back to f3 with the knight, of course, and yeah, he enjoys a much better position because black is just neglecting his development. While black is winning back the pawn after queen e4, but bishop e2, castle, and white has a great development advantage.
True.
So, rating this opening, I think, is not very difficult task.
I have already done it.
Nonsense.
Okay,
I will do then Napoleon opening because you don't know it. It's e4, e5, and now queen f3. Queen f3. Fantastic move. Queen f3, Napoleon opening.
But Napoleon was known for developing the knights, not for developing the queen. So I don't know. It must be some mistake. You have to check it once again. I mean. Yeah,
I checked some English Wikipedia site, and Napoleon opening was queen f3, and I think there are some stupid games from him. And I don't know if he played them really. If he played them, or if someone else wrote them down and said this was Napoleon's games. Okay, queen f3, actually nobody's playing queen f3, and I don't know what the idea of queen f3 is. Maybe some version of the scholars made with bishop c4, but here black just can develop pieces, like queen f6, queen c6, and of course it's not a good opening to bring your queen out in the second move, and queen f3 is of course a bad opening choice. So there is nothing more to say about it. I put it on the nonsense row. And I think you don't need to add something, or do you have some idea?
It's just breaking the rules of chess.
Yeah.
Bring the queen out on move 2. I think queen h5 makes much more sense, though queen h5 is also not
And this is
a
the next
great
one.
move.
Parham Attack.
Ah, it's Parham Attack. Okay.
Yeah.
It's Parham Attack. What can I say about Parham Attack? I can say that it's definitely wrong and it's not the way to play it, and it's not the way to play it with white especially. We may also remember Carlsen's game, yeah? Played in
Yeah.
World Blitz Championship. He he thought he was playing with some very weak opponent and he played queen h5. But then he lost the game. So maybe he won't repeat it anymore. Here we also have this kid's checkmate, yeah, after knight c6, bishop c4, and many kids may play knight f6, and after queen f7 they will start crying. But if this only trick doesn't work, then queen h5 is not a good move. Surprisingly, after queen h5, black may even play knight f6, and after queen e5, black goes for bishop e7, and followed by castle and rook e8 and some ideas of knight e4, because there will be serious threats over the e file. So knight f6, queen e5, bishop e7 makes a lot of sense. It's normal way to play. Look, black started like second, yeah, first white moved and black was second, but here black has developed two moves. On the next move they will castle, and look at white's development. It's horrible. So don't try it. Don't try it unless you are Carlsen or
But I
Parham.
think Carlsen even lost a game
Yeah,
against. No.
he did lose the game against someone rated 2300.
Yeah.
It's not good.
But to be honest, objectively, it's not that bad, I think. Okay, if you know the best moves from the engines, then it's a bit better for black. But after queen h5, knight c6, bishop c4, the main line is g6, queen f3, still threatening mate, knight f6, and here knight ge2, bishop g7, and this position is more or less equal. Yeah, of course, you shouldn't bring your queen out that early, but the position objectively is not that bad.
Yes, but it's more like white is trying to fight for equality, and there is literally no trick. I mean, the only trick is that black blundered the checkmate. Otherwise, there is no trick. So I
This
don't
is a trick.
see.
This is a trick. This is a trick.
Sometimes it's enough, but I prefer when there is at least one more.
Yeah. Maybe you try it out once in a while, then you will recognize that your opponents defend well, and then you will never play it again.
I can't put it into risky tricky because with one trick, come on, it definitely can't go to great, good, or standard. So I would rather say it's a nonsense. I think that's the
Nonsense, no.
the
I would
most
say
reasonable.
It's risky. It's not complete nonsense.
But
It's risky.
because you know why? Because you have only the risky. You named this category just as risky, while I named it risky tricky. And
So
so I don't see any tricks.
it deserves much more in your list to be included in the risky tricky because it has at least one trick. No?
From Miss
There
Solid,
is some logic behind my words, I think.
Miss Solid putting queen h5 in risky tricky. No.
Miss Solid. But you're not Miss Solid. Why you name yourself Miss Solid? You're an attacking player par excellence.
I am more like an attacking player, that's true. But though I think my play is quite balanced, I can't say that my attacking skills are like...
You're a grandmaster, of course. Of course.
But even some grandmasters, they have... some of them are much more tactical or much more strategical. While in my case, I would say I'm 60% attacking player, while 40% positional player, something like that.
Okay. Wow, that was it.
That was it.
Much more than 1 hour talking about 17 open games. I think we missed some of the openings, maybe Bon Cloud, maybe Philidor, but it was done by myself, this tier list, shortly before the stream, because there weren't a tier list in chess with open games, so you have to excuse me.
I think that was a great list anyway, so
Yeah.
thanks once again for preparing. And I don't know if you are following my chat, but here on my chat, the viewers were also kind of thinking
And
where to put each of the openings in which category. So we had the poll for every single opening, and some of the results were really like surprising and funny. Thanks to my mod for doing that.
Great. Linda did it, yeah?
Yes, Linda did. Bernal, thank you
Great.
so much.